Every single offensive play for every single offensive lineman starts with some sort of stance. Today on Linepro Tips, I just wanted to take a look at the different types of stances, what's the differences between them, and maybe I could throw you some tips on getting better at each and every one of them. So you have the 2-point, 3-point, and 4-point stance for offensive linemen. Some of you younger guys may not know why they call it the 2-point, 3-point, and 4-point stance. It's just simply how many points of contact do we have with the ground. So in a 2-point stance, you're going to have both feet, no hands, 2 points. On a 3-point stance, you're going to have both feet, one hand, 1, 2, 3, 3 points. And in a 4-point stance, you're going to have both feet in the ground and both hands, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's take a look at each one of these a little bit closer. Okay, first of all, 2-point stance. This is a pass situation stance. You're much more ready to set and be in pass protection when you don't have your hand on the ground. The most common mistake I see guys make with a 2-point stance is being too high already in their stance, okay? So instead of being really low in the hips like they would be if they were in a 3-point stance, they pick up the hand and now they're overly tall, okay? So with a 2-point stance, my biggest suggestion, make sure that we're still getting low enough in our hips, low enough in our chest, keeping that back flat in order to still be powerful out of that stance. The 3-point stance is your most common everyday stance where you have the 2 feet down and the one hand down. One mistake I see a lot of guys make is they'll put the same foot forward in their stagger and then they'll put that same hand down. Okay, this is always going to be awkward. Never a comfortable football position. All right, if you're going to camps, if you're going to tryouts and coaches see you doing this, they're going to know right away that you haven't practiced a 3-point stance a whole lot. All right, so same foot back, same hand down, and try to have a little bit of balance, but that's going to be a topic for another episode. 4-point stance is not very common, but it does allow you to get extra low and have a little bit of extra forward attitude, primarily used on situations of extreme short yardage like QB sneaks. The one thing with the 4-point stance, I'll see some guys get a little bit too far forward in their weight, and they'll start to get overextended in their hips and knees, okay? I want to be able to dig and drive underneath somebody, not falling forward over my toes. Centers, okay? Centers do not get into a 2-point stance because we're always going to have the ball in our hand, so I would at least consider that your everyday standard center stance. We will do another episode where we get deeper into a center stance, but here today I'll mention that there are times where a center will use a 4-point stance, so he'll put his offhand down on the ground. And then this, very, very rare, but you'll see this with teams that run the ball a whole lot, the Air Forces and Navies of the world, those guys put their hands down. It does let them get a little bit of forward attitude. If you play center, you'll know that's a really hard thing to deal with, not having any weight in your hand, having to hold the ball. You have to generate all the force of your motions through your feet. A guard or tackle who has a little bit of weight on his hand, he's able to distribute his weight a little bit and fire out a little more effectively. But for a center, it's really tough to go from 0 to 100 from nothing. So what these teams will do, Air Force, Navy, Army, these teams that traditionally have smaller linemen, they'll have their center put their hand down, have a little bit more forward attitude, and this way he can get into his double teams and his fill blocks, typically not pass setting a whole lot, which would be really tough looking at one of these 4-point center stances. Finally, guys, today I just wanted to go over a couple variables of each stance for you. On the 3-point stance, you can have more run heavy versus more balanced, okay? If you're an offense that runs the ball a lot and pass sets very little, your coach might want you to put a little more weight on your hand and move your hand a little farther forward, okay? That's gonna make you more ready to fire out in a run situation. And on the 2-point stance, the two variations that I notice are balanced everyday 2-point stance and pass ready 2-point stance. Okay, let me tell you the difference. On the balanced everyday down 2-point stance, it's basically just a 3-point stance with your hand up. You could run block, it's very basic, it's very normal. On a pass ready 2-point stance, I'm talking about these big left tackle NFL guys who basically look like they're getting ready to throw a shot put, and all they're doing, because they're facing the toughest pass rusher of their life, all they're doing is loading the weight here on this inside foot, okay, and they're abandoning a little bit of their posture so they can just get the most they can in that first big kick. All right, so guys, this has been just an overview of the different types of stances. We talked about the 2-point, 3-point, 4-point for an offensive lineman, okay? On future episodes, we'll go deeper into how to get in a better stance and how to improve at your stance. But today I hope you learned a little something, and I look forward to sharing more with you on future episodes of Linepro Tips.